Say his name. Say his name. Say his name. As we get ready to have the eulogy by the Reverend Al Sharpton, I wanted to just acknowledge some of the people who have been fighting, not just with us in the court of law, but fighting in the court of public opinion in the community, not just here in Ohio, but all across America. You have people who have come far and near to be here to stand for justice for Frank Tyson. And so we have my mentor and the most consequential civil rights leader in America today just present here. So I will acknowledge some of these very special people who did not think it robbery, Reverend Al, to come across America to be here with the family. And Attorney Gicello, you can join me up here. The first person we want to acknowledge, and it's hard to believe, Reverend Al, that it's almost 10 years ago that we got the call from Ferguson, Missouri, and this young man, Mike Brown Sr., and his family had the whole world acknowledging, hands up, don't shoot. We want to have Mike Brown Sr. stand so we can acknowledge his presence here today. Thank you, Mike, for being here with the family. And it's hard to believe that 4 years have passed, almost 4 years have passed since we witnessed a young man in Kenosha, Wisconsin, with our own eyes, Attorney DiCello, be shot walking away, Reverend Al, with 7 bullets, not posing any threat to the police. Thank God he didn't die, but they paralyzed him, and he still struggles today with just basic things that we all take for granted, like using the bathroom, like walking and eating. But we would never forget him, and we would never forget how adamant and passionate his father was, Jacob Blake Sr., the father of Jacob Blake. Jacob, please stand and be recognized. Big Jake. And she was such a songbird just a minute ago. You got my God, she sung like the angels from heaven. We recognize the mother of Jalen Randall, Miss Tiffany Rochelle from Houston, Texas. Tiffany, thank you. Thank you for coming. God bless you. And then down in New Orleans, Attorney DiCello and Ken Abano, we have the honor of representing a former NFL star who, like so many of the names we're calling, was a black man who said, I can't breathe, and was fighting to live when the police killed him. And it's just tragic. It doesn't matter who we are, what we achieve, they still don't extend the humanity to us that they extend to our white brothers and sisters, and we see it over and over again. And so we are very honored to have the mother of Glenn Foster, Miss Sabrina Foster, come from New Orleans, Louisiana, to be here with the family. And we have a young man who has been all over the country fighting, standing with families. since he lost his son down in Tampa, Florida, crossing the street. And they tried to cover it up. I don't know why, Reverend Al, they just won't be honest with us from the beginning, and we have to fight so hard for simple justice. But thank God that Andrew Joseph did not give up fighting for justice and finally received justice almost 8 years later after his son was killed going to the youth fair. Andrew Joseph, please stand up and be recognized, my brother. Thank you. And then, last but certainly not least, before we get ready to hear the word from the man who came a long way to be here, who always answers the bell. And I always, you know how busy Reverend Al is, y'all? I mean, we ain't talking about just the radio show every day, keeping it real. We ain't just talking about him on MSNBC every morning with Morning Joe fighting with national politics. We're not just talking about Politics Nation, his show on cable network. We're not just talking about the Word Network every Saturday morning where he continues to fight, but I'm talking about the families. You know, we go back to Trayvon, but even before fate brought us together, Reverend Al was fighting for all kinds of families who he still stays in contact with to this day. And y'all know how many times they call him, asking for his counsel, his assistance, and he always answers the bell. Always answers the bell. And he answered that bell almost 4 years ago when we got that call from Minneapolis, where George Floyd was saying, "I can't breathe." And so we have George Floyd's uncle, Selwyn Floyd, here with us. And we want to recognize Selwyn and thank him for coming over from Minnesota to be with the family. Thank you, Selwyn. And we also want to acknowledge Dr. Melina Abdullah, Black Lives Matter grassroots, coming from Los Angeles, California, to be here with us. Her great leadership. Because, Baba, I think we say this and let the program proceed, and we'll come up and do the call for justice as Reverend Al will have the family and us ready to speak. But the reality is this, y'all. Eric Gardner said, "I can't breathe," and they ignored him. And then George Floyd said, "I can't breathe," and they told him, "Well, if you're talking, then you breathing." And then we come to Frank Tyson in Canton, Ohio, who says, "I can't breathe," and it gets even worse because the police officer says, "Shut the F up." And so you understand why we need Reverend Al, why we need the National Action Network, why we need Black Lives Matter grassroots, why we need Bobby DiCello, why we need the clergy, why we need the activists in the streets. Yeah, we need them because obviously they're not getting the message. How many more teachable moments do we have to have, America, before the police believe us when black people say, "I can't breathe"? And that's why we need Reverend Al Sharpton to carry the message for us and give a voice to those who don't have a voice. So, Reverend Presley, I couldn't let the moment pass without saying thank you, Reverend Al, for being not just a hero for us in the civil rights community, but being a hero for the activists like, you know, Melina and Sierra and all the activists in the streets, because he was an activist before he ascended to the pulpit, and he never forgot where he came from. He'll go march today from the Met Gala to the community. He's our leader. Bobby, thank you for your advocacy. Reverend Presley, thank you for your leadership in these proceedings.
And thank you. Let's put our hands together for Attorney Ben Crump.